The solar wind is created by the outward expansion of charged particles from the sun's corona. This plasma is continually heated to the point that the sun's gravity can no longer hold it down. It then travels along the sun's magnetic field lines that extend radially outward. For most of our time, we've seen these as dangerous particles and a problem, stripping atmospheres or deadly space radiation, an issue to protect ourselves from, until now. Hi everyone, Vega here, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a radical new idea that could help us visit the stars within a lifetime. So, let's get to it. As things stand, the idea of sailing solar wind to the stars is quite novel. Whilst listening to an excellent podcast by the Universe Today channel, which I'll link below in the description, between Fraser Cain and Andrew Higgins, a mechanical engineer at McGill University, I was inspired to try and make a video that would graphically represent the idea. Today people are working on ideas that might not be able to take us faster than the speed of light, but at least get us moving to a significant fraction and make interstellar journeys happen within our lifetimes. It appears that there's nothing that breaks the laws of physics to be able to get to other star systems in indeed a human lifetime. We can exploit the difference in velocities of the solar wind as a way that you could maybe accelerate a spacecraft to 2% the speed of light, just within the solar system, and then other ways that you could get perhaps to maybe 20 or even perhaps 30% the speed of light as you're travelling in the gulf between stars. As we know, chemical rockets, ion engines and maybe even nuclear rockets all fall short of the goal of being able to reach another star fast enough. If you just play with the rocket equation, you'll quickly find out that you need more propellant than the mass of the universe to do a mission to a nearby star in a lifetime. Ion propulsion, sure you can get to very high specific impulses, but then where does the power come from? Indeed, these power restrictions limit you so much, even if you were to go to nuclear fission or fusion, advanced versions of it could only realistically get you to 1% of C, and this leaves us with a problem at getting to the local stars. Many have talked about laser-driven light sails, and this concept is the breakthrough star shot that's based around. Let's say for now that that's plan A. Plan B would probably be an antimatter drive, but so far the biggest problem is how would we make the large quantities of it needed, and indeed how would we store it? There's work going on in that field, but it's a long way from fruition at this point, so we need to move on to plan C. How might we use the solar wind, which is basically a stream of charged protons coming from the sun? Interestingly, there remains a possibility that you can interact with such a solar wind via magnetic fields. What this means is you don't need to be able to build a physical sail, and you might actually be able to build a relatively compact device with just a small antenna, only meters in size. It could then interact with hundreds of kilometers of that solar wind. Indeed, by deflecting the particles of the solar wind you generate thrust and force that's transferred to your spacecraft. But that on alone would not be enough, and it appears there's a way to get even faster than the wind itself. It's a concept that's known as dynamic soaring, and is something that birds do all the time, enacting in spiralling manoeuvres where there are regions of wind shear. What birds do is bounce back and forth between two regions of wind, and with that they can extract energy from the wind and get faster than either of the two wind streams themselves. Indeed, recent glider enthusiasts have exploited this effect. The enthusiast Spencer Leesenby managed to take gliders in and out of regions of wind shear and accelerated them up to an incredible 900 km an hour. The gliders travel so fast that they're almost going 10 times faster than the wind. It's incredible, isn't it? Of course, there are differences in speeds in the solar wind, which means theoretically it could be possible to exploit this and explore the solar system. We'd of course first have to find out where the regions of wind shear are. Using that wind shear then to get up to small percentages of the speed of light, let's say 0.01 C or 0.02 at best, a craft would then manoeuvre further out in the solar system, and eventually it would reach what we know as the termination shock. The termination shock is a region where there are also fast and slow winds, as proven by the Voyager spacecraft over the past few years. This means that you could fly in and out of that too, and extract yet more energy. And that's not where it ends. Even further out there's the heliopause, where again the wind almost comes to rest as it merges with the interstellar medium, and this means that there's a further region where there's again different wind speeds. Using this same method each time, we could dip in and out of those regions, and as I say, could theoretically approach up to 2 to 3% the speed of light. At this speed, what limits you really is you run out of road, or as we call it, solar system. Once outside the solar system, our craft have reached the interstellar medium. In this area there are also different speeds of interstellar winds that you could then continue to ride from that point forward, and with more runway, in inverted commas of course, we could reach up to perhaps as fast as 20 to 30% of light speed. Isn't it fascinating that by studying nature we can find innovative and fascinating new ways to explore regions way outside of our own understandings? So let's have a look at a potential voyage to some of our nearest neighbours using this method. The termination shock begins at around 90 astronomical units, so our craft would slowly accelerate and arrive, by my primitive calculations, in around 7.5 weeks, which in itself is actually incredible, isn't it? We could then begin our acceleration towards 0.2 or even 0.3 C. The great thing about this technique is that we can also use it for decelerating upon arrival, and we must bear in mind that wind speeds would be higher for larger stars such as Sirius, Rigel Centaurus or Procyon than it would be for smaller stars or subdwarfs like Barnard's star or Lumen 16. In this table, based on a flyby mission and not assuming an orbital insertion, we could expect our mission to achieve fruition within the span of a human lifetime. Of course we could send crafts to all of these stars and beyond, but for fun you might like to consider where your favourite destination might be. Just taking a quick look, a trip to Sirius could be within a lifetime of many of our channel's viewers, or perhaps a cruise out to Proxima first, and then decelerating our set craft in orbit around one of the potential worlds in the Alpha Centauri system. Let me know which you think would be the best in the comments below, it'd be fascinating to know. My personal choice would be a mission to Procyon and beyond to Luyten star, which would take a little bit longer. Given that the system includes 3 very distinct types of star, an F-class subgiant, a white dwarf and a red dwarf, as well as potentially habitable worlds in orbit around the faint Luyten star. Of course, such a trip, as we see here, would probably take at very best around 69 to 70 years, and it may be out of my own reach as things stand, but sure, we can dream, can't we? A new technique is being discussed that could take us to the stars within the span of a human lifetime. It involves dipping in and out of stellar and interstellar winds in very much the same way as the beautiful birds do in our skies today. As human beings, we're very innovative and intelligent when we want to be, but it seems, at least for now, that Mother Nature in all her glory still has a few tricks up her sleeves. Thanks for watching, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you'd like to support the channel further, you could consider buying me a coffee, and I'll link this in the description. Thanks to those of you who have already done so. If you've any videos or subjects that you'd like to see brought to life, don't forget to let me know in the comments below, and it could just be your idea next week that shows up. Take really good care of yourselves, and don't forget to look after your friends and family well, and I'll see you on the next one.